Acute infectious diarrhea. Okay, it's not exactly a glamorous topic, but let's be real. It's one of the most common illnesses on the planet. And chances are, you've been there. But have you ever really stopped to think about what's actually happening inside your body when it strikes? Well, today, we are going to decode that entire process.
So the best way to wrap your head around this is to stop thinking of it as just a random sickness. Instead, I want you to imagine it's a home invasion. Your gut is your house, right? And all of a sudden, this microscopic visitor just barges in. And believe me, this visitor has zero intention of being a good guest. So we're going to follow this whole story, right from the beginning to the end. We'll start with the moment that intruder gets in, then we'll look at the two main ways it wreaks havoc, and finally, the most important part, the step-by-step eviction plan to get your home and your gut back to normal.
All right, let's start at the beginning. The visitor's big arrival. How do you even know this isn't just a minor upset stomach? Well, it turns out there's a pretty clear medical line that gets crossed when it officially becomes acute diarrhea.
The World Health Organization gives us a really clear benchmark. We're talking 3 or more liquid or very soft stools in a single day. And that word acute is key here. It just means this is a short-term problem, something that should be gone in less than 2 weeks.
And get this, in a whopping 90% of these cases, the cause is an infection. This isn't just your body disagreeing with something you ate. No, this is your body actively fighting off a foreign invader, a bacteria, a virus, or maybe even a parasite.
Now, for most healthy adults, this visitor is, well, a miserable but temporary nuisance. But for some folks, it can be incredibly dangerous. We're talking about infants and the elderly and anyone with a weakened immune system. And of course, there's the classic traveler's diarrhea. You might know it as tourista, which is really just your body's very unfortunate introduction to a whole new neighborhood of local germs.
So the big question is, how do these tiny little visitors cause such a massive disruption? Well, it turns out they don't just wander in aimlessly. They come in with a game plan. The vast majority of them get in through what's known as the fecal-oral route. I know, it sounds pretty gross, but the concept is simple. The germs travel from the stool of an infected person or animal to the mouth of someone else, and that usually happens to contaminated hands, food, or water. This is exactly why hygiene is so critical.
Okay, once they're inside, these germs usually pick one of 2 main attack styles, and this is really key to understanding what you're feeling. First, you've got the watery attack. Germs like Staph aureus release these toxins that basically just tell your gut to open the floodgates and pump out water. The main danger here? Severe dehydration. Then you have the destructive attack. This is more aggressive. Germs like Shigella physically invade and damage your gut lining. That's what causes inflammation, a high fever, and stools with mucus or blood. The risks here are way more serious, like internal damage.
Understanding those 2 attack styles is super helpful because it leads us to the next critical question. How do you know when this is something you can just handle at home versus a real medical emergency? It's all about assessing the threat.
So let's get practical here. How can you tell if this unwanted visitor is just a common troublemaker or if it's a genuinely dangerous intruder that needs a professional to step in? You really need to pay close attention to these red flags. A high fever? That's a big warning sign. Any signs of severe dehydration, we're talking a super dry mouth, not peeing much, or a skin that kind of stays tented when you pinch it, those are major concerns. If you see blood or mucus, have severe abdominal pain, or if the whole thing just drags on for more than 5 days, it is time to call a doctor. And definitely seek help if there's any confusion. These symptoms often point to that much more serious, destructive attack.
Okay, so you've identified the problem, and hopefully you're not seeing any of those red flags. So now, let's talk about the eviction plan. How do we show this unwanted visitor the door and help our body get back on its feet?
The whole approach is really built on 3 simple pillars. First, and I cannot stress this enough, rehydrate. This is the absolute #1 priority. You have to replace the fluids and electrolytes your body is losing. Second, rest and eat simply. Give your system a break with gentle foods like rice or bananas. And third, and this is where a lot of people go wrong, medicate with caution.
And it's so important to remember this. Your body is actually designed to fight off these infections. Most of the time, it's going to win on its own. The treatment is really just about supporting your body while it does its tough job.
This slide is the perfect example of that medicate with cautions point. It's so important. On one side, you have meds that slow your gut down, like loperamide. They seem like a good idea, right? But if you have that destructive attack, the one with fever or blood, slowing things down can actually trap the dangerous bacteria inside your body, making things much, much worse. On the other side, you have anti-secretory meds. These don't stop the eviction process, they just reduce the amount of water being pumped out, which eases your symptoms without trapping the bad guys. It's a really crucial difference.
So what about antibiotics? Well, for one thing, a lot of these cases are caused by viruses, so antibiotics would be totally useless. And even for bacterial cases, your body usually clears it on its own. So antibiotics are really just for very specific, severe situations and should only ever be taken if a doctor prescribes them. All right, we've evicted the visitor. The chaos is over. So, how do we beef up our home security system to make sure this never happens again? That, my friends, brings us to prevention.
Your gut security system starts on the outside. Number one, and I mean, this is the big one, is washing your hands. It is the single most effective thing you can possibly do. After that, it's all about common sense food safety. Cooking meat all the way through, keeping cold foods cold, washing your fruits and veggies, and just being extra careful with high-risk foods, especially when you're traveling.
Mina, ultimately, it's a simple truth. It is so much easier to keep that unwanted visitor out in the first place than it is to evict them once they're already inside.
So when you think about it, it's pretty wild. A single microscopic organism can completely hijack our entire system. It forces our body into this drastic eviction mode that we just experience as, well, as diarrhea. It's kind of a humbling reminder that we're in this constant dance with a microbial world we can't even see. And it makes you wonder, is the diarrhea actually the illness, or is it the first, most powerful step in the cure? Something to think about.